I was moved the other day by the opportunity to learn that crows often occur in two, and they often teach each other and share skills. So when I heard about a crow that this gentleman had trained to pick up coins for food, and he trained it and is training other crows now to pick up coins for food. So it's sort of a trade-off. It's actually becoming financially lucrative for him. So those opportunities, I've often wondered about, the 100th monkey, the idea of when we reach a collective consciousness, or, that opportunity when we have to make a transition that becomes phenomenal. And I just feel that I'm wondering where that quantity is for humanity. When is it that we reach that 1,000th person, or that 100th person, or that second person that's capable of collecting consciousness towards a change of a different destination? But so I'm trying to think outside the book as well as within it. Today with the readings, I guess I have a poetry reading from Sara Teasdale about May, and I have a book called The Crow Planet by Lyanda Haupt, and it's essential wisdom from the urban wilderness. So these are the two readings I had for today. This first one's called was torn. I'm going to the one. So we'll go with May Day. This is by collected poems of Sara Teasdale. A delicate fabric of birdsong floats in the air. Smell of wet, wild earth is everywhere. Red small leaves of the maple are clenched like a hand. Like girls at their first communion, the pear tree stands. Oh, I must pass nothing by without loving it much. The raindrops try with my lips, the raindrop try with my lips, the grass with my touch. For how can I be sure I shall see again the world of the 1st of May, shining after the rain? And then this is a section out of here. Talks a little about Aldo Leopold, so some of the motivation I had for this reading about poetry was from that. Aldo Leopold believed that our missteps regarding the natural world would very often arise from a lack of ecological perception, from our inability to read the land. For Leopold, land is more a concept than a place, expansively involving all things on, over, or in the earth. He taught that the stories told by these various dimensions of the land are something we can learn to interpret, a narrative text that we can read. In my understanding of Leopold, he was not speaking by way of analogy. His reading implies the literal presence of a kind of writing, an epistle, as sure as any penned by human hands. The narrative Leopold speaks of is an intricate one, unfolding beneath our everyday awareness. In the past, humans have written the stories of wild animals in our own stilted text. And though we have at times been thoughtful, scribes have at times been thoughtful scribes, we have just as often misconstrued the land's measuring and let our misconstructions stand in our science, our political and our cultural methodology. But the wild beings have their own stories to tell, and in the readings of their singular alphabet, their tracks, voices, homes, scat, feathers, presence, and absence, we may find that they sometimes object to things we have always believed to be true. Attempting to read crow lives attunes my eyes to the quieter, penciled world, its stories, its struggles, its needs. It inspires me to watch for the next layer and then the next. In our urban watching, we learn to remain alert to the presence of the wild on earth, to grow in awareness that is an essential counterbalance to the isolating loss of wild knowledge that urban and suburban living so typically brings. We heard the Indigo Girls play an outdoor concert at the zoo last summer. It was the end of the season, and the crows were beginning to gather in the numbers that were characterized. And the crows were beginning to gather in the numbers that would characterize their great autumn flocks, swirling in the dusk. There were enough of them to make people start looking skyward, pointing, and to make those with the common subrational crow fear start. And to make those with the common subrational crow fear starts feeling edgy. A few songs in the first set, about 20 crows settled in a tree at the edge of the field, and every one of them sat there quietly, with toes and face pointing towards the stage. Were they enjoying the music? As they break, the crows flew off, but they returned when the girls came back and on stage and started the second set. I watched the three in the front row branch. Were they, I can hardly suggest it, as it was barely perceptible. Were they nodding their heads in time? If the world is right, shine my life with a light. So that's it. If the world is night, shine my life with a light.